Hello, my creative friends, and welcome to another episode of The Daily Prompt. In this episode, I want to talk briefly about what about movies that suck? I had somebody on make a comment on one of the videos on this channel, and he basically said, I was listening to what you said, and then I immediately thought, and how you can't find viable material, and there's all these projects that come in, and nothing's viable, and then I thought about Adam Sandler movies, and those are terrible, and so it shot your whole theory to smithereens. He didn't say those words, any of those words, but that was the message of the comment. And I thought, you missed the point entirely. You've missed the point entirely. It's not about what you subjectively think is quality. When I say that fewer than 1 in 1,000 projects is something that I could say yes to, it's not about subjective quality. It's not that all the projects that are coming in are terrible. Sometimes the ideas are fantastic. Sometimes the ideas are extraordinary. Sometimes the writing is really great. Sometimes I know the writers, and the writers are people I love and would love to work with. But I can't use those stories. It's not about quality, it's about viability. To be totally clear about all this, if you've ever watched a movie and you've thought to yourself, how does a movie like this get made? This is terrible. The answer is that the writer and the producer were aligned. They were in sync. They were trying to make the same thing. Now, what I have found through all the submissions that came in is not that 1 in 1,000 projects is good. It's that 1 in 1,000 projects is viable. Something I could, not viable in general, but something that I could say yes to. So someone has submitted something to me that I could actually use. That is 1 in 1,000. The viability of the whole swath of projects out there is probably on the order of, it's a ballpark guess, but on the order of, I'd say, 15%. So 85% of projects no producer could say yes to, right? That doesn't mean quality. That means viability. That means that you've created something a producer can say yes to. When you watch movies and you go, that movie is terrible. And by the way, I'm a fan of Adam Sandler movies. Not a raving fan, but they're fun, they're silly, they're dumb humor, and that's what it's intended to be. Go talk to Adam Sandler. He's not going to tell you I'm changing the world with these movies. We're making escapist comedy entertainment, something to make you laugh, something just to give you a good time in the midst of maybe a world that's a bit chaotic sometimes and not altogether fun always. Let's just have a laugh. That's what that's about. If you want to create that kind of story, we're not talking about something that you're going to submit to someone who's trying to win an Academy Award. We're not talking about submitting it to someone at a major studio that's trying to create a tentpole picture. If it's not an Adam Sandler movie, you might not, it's just a comedy like that, but it wouldn't feature Adam Sandler. You're going to have to find the producer for whom that project is perfect, is ideal. You're going to have to find the person for whom that project is viable. And then that project has to meet that producer's criteria. So I think there's maybe this misconception, and certainly there was from that commenter who was very obnoxious and snarky about it. Thank you very much. But I think there's this misconception that what I'm talking about is quality. There is some extraordinary writing out there. I've seen scenes that are like, oh my God, I love this scene. I've seen dialogue and I go, wow, this is some fantastic dialogue. I have seen story ideas that the idea is great. The script falls apart. I don't have the resources to invest in developing that to what it needs to be. You've created characters that are thin and formulaic, or that simply don't most effectively serve the theme or the idea or the point or the purpose of the story, or that are misaligned with what the producer's needs for making that movie would be. When you have an idea for a movie and you put it into a screenplay form, that's this bubble of unreality. You're going from your idea to the page. That world there's nothing that it's sort of pushing against, right? Like you can do that in a bubble. You could take any idea and turn it into pages and pages and reams and reams and reams of paper. Screenplay after screenplay after screenplay after screenplay. Never show it to anyone. It really doesn't matter. The viability of those projects is not going to matter. If all you're interested in is taking the idea out of your head and putting it on the page because it makes you feel good to do that, go for it, do it. What I'm talking about here on this channel, and particularly when it comes to screenwriting specifically, screenplays exist to be turned into a movie. And because they exist to be turned into a movie, when you write one and you give it to someone who turns scripts into movies, it needs to be able to be turned into a movie by that person within those budget realities and marketing realities and the producer being able to actually do something with it. Now, we can go out and turn any idea into a screenplay, turn any screenplay into a movie. So when I'm talking about the viability of a project, it may seem a little incongruous if you're thinking, well, if anybody can go out and make movies these days, why don't we just like capture some ideas on a page, put them on a page and go out and start shooting stuff? Yeah, you can. Go for it. But there are 4,000, maybe more, 5,000 movies made every year, little independent films, and most of them are doing precisely that. They're taking the idea, they're blasting it out, they're going out and shooting something. Maybe they're not even writing it. They just have an idea, let's go shoot stuff and piece it together as a movie. And then what you have at the end is a movie of little pieces, kind of like one of those little patchwork dolls where it's like the eye's too big over here and the ear's too big over there. Yeah, that could be beautiful. There could be a market for that kind of a thing. What I'm talking about is we want to make specific types of movies. We want to make specific types of movies to take advantage of certain markets, to take advantage of the kinds of things that I want to say, the kinds of things that another producer wants to say. The writer has to take their idea, turn it into something that is viable in that context. And at the end of the day, if there are 4,000 movies vying for attention, the vast majority of them are going to be seen by absolutely no one. So you're not going to get the buzz. You're not going to get the upside potential of writing a movie that actually captures the imagination of an audience, which helps to open the doors to get you into write at the higher level, all that kind of stuff. It's reliant upon creating those stories that are that step above, that are, and not by step above, I don't mean that they can't be dumb comedies. That you just need to create a dumb comedy that within that genre, within that style, is extraordinary in its own right. It's super funny. When we open the pages of the screenplay, we laugh out loud. If it's dumb, milk pours out of our nose as we laugh while we're reading the script. Like that's what you want. That's what it needs to be in order to compete within that arena. Within that arena, you take 100 dumb comedies, right, that are written to be, let's just have a laugh. Let's be silly. Let's make a dumb comedy because it's, first of all, super fun to make a dumb comedy. But if you make a dumb comedy that connects with an audience, you make a lot of people laugh. That's a good thing. That's worthwhile. That has value intrinsically to it. There's nothing wrong with dumb comedies. So if you make a dumb comedy, out of 100 dumb comedies that are written, 15 of them will be actually viable, right? And then only one out of that 100, maybe even considerably less than that, would be right for the producer that you're sending it to. As an example, you could write a comedy that, let's say, is perfectly in sync with the kind of comedy Judd Apatow makes. And that could be, that there is a distinct difference between that and, let's say, an Adam Sandler movie. Those types of humor are, there's similarities to them for sure, but they're different. If you had the same story that you sent off to Adam Sandler's production company or that you sent off to Judd Apatow's production company, the story would be redeveloped somewhat for each, right? To make it perfectly in sync. That's what I'm talking about. That's the viability. That's the statistics that I'm talking about. So when people hear the idea that fewer than 1 in 1,000, I'm not talking about overall quality. In fact, there's a lot of great resources out there. There are a lot of people spending a lot of time working on their craft and developing this stuff. I'm not in any way trying to tell you that what you're doing is not having an effect, that what you're doing is not getting you better at what you're trying to do. what I'm saying is there is a missing element to it all, and that is understanding that producer's point of view, understanding how to take what you're trying to create and make sure that that thing is in sync with your target. And if you don't know if, am I specifically targeting an Adam Sandler production company or a Judd Apatow production company, to create something that could possibly be pitched to different types of comedy producers in that way, you're going to need to fit within a specific general frame. Now, you're still going to want to create something unique and original, something you haven't seen before, something that hopefully is not so formulaic that we can predict the dumb jokes that are coming. Like, there should still be some unique caliber to it. But ultimately, your goal is to understand those needs, their needs, so that when you create what you're creating, it's something that they can actually do something with. Because there's no point writing something and then sending it out there and having everyone go, yeah, this is a funny idea, but I can't do anything with this. So that's what I'm talking about on this channel. That's the whole sort of focus and premise of what I've come about. So as we're talking about a daily prompt for you, my suggestion today is to really have a look at where do you think you're trying to fit? Can you look at maybe 3 or 4, 5 different producers within that sort of genre spectrum, people that you admire, people that you'd want to work with, whatever, and imagine your story, imagine your characters, imagine whatever it is you're writing, tailored to each of those different 5. How would it need to change? Now, you're not going to do that. You're not going to go out and change it to each of those. But by thinking about that aspect of it, it will help you understand the unique dynamics of what alignment is all about, of what writing something that's viable is all about, of understanding how you're going to as a screenwriter, you're going to create within the real world marketplace. If you can focus on that and see the nuances of how your project would be different for different producers, it'll open up your creativity to seeing the detail, to seeing the nuance of it, which can help you find and develop better caliber material, better caliber stories, better caliber characters, maybe even help you come up with some whole new ideas for new stories that you might want to write. So I hope this helps. Remember to take action today. Don't forget to click the subscribe button and the bell and the social media and join me on the webinar and join me in my system if you're interested in actually being guided through this entire process. But whatever you do, take action today. Do not let another day go by without taking action. You have to work the muscle, and that means taking action every single day. So that's what today's daily prompt is all about. Thank you for watching. We will see you in the next one.